welcome to this episode of Speaking Please. I am Marin Perodini, Global Chair of All Global Networking, and I am delighted once again to be with these beautiful ladies from different parts of the world with a difference of 12 hours. Isn't it Tanya Matos from Michigan and Namrata Dasmana from India, please, and Brigitte from Los Angeles. Please, Tanya, how are you?
Good morning, Mar. I am doing wonderfully. So excited to be here with all of you ladies. I am Tanya Mattox from Michigan. I am a certified life coach and certified etiquette professional, and I'm loving the discussion on Bridget's book, Finding Peace. It's really appropriate, and we're learning a lot.
And we love to have you here, Tanya. Thanks so much for your contributions. Namrata Dasmana from India. Welcome so much. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mar. It's 7:30 here, so good evening and good morning to you all. And a pleasure to be here. It's a lovely book, beautiful book. I'm Namrata, and I'm a certified Gallup coach and President, Women India Chamber of Commerce and Industry of CSR Council. So it has been an incredible journey of reading the third chapter and eagerly waiting to contribute in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Namrata. And finally, our bestseller author that we are so grateful, Brigitte, that you joined with us on this series of this five-finger method of seeking peace. It looks simple. Is it simple, Brigitte? We go from thumbs up to chameleon fingerprints, and now what is happening today with this third finger? Please, Brigitte.
Well, the third finger is to unmuddle the misunderstanding. And basically, the main thing on the third finger, this chapter, is to share with you tips, tools, and understanding such that you don't feel that you have to wave and raise your middle finger as frequently because you're having more ease, more peace, and more understanding and more joy already on your own.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brigitte. You say gratitude is not a spiritual bypass. That is one of the summary. Ladies, what do you think about that? It's quite impressive, isn't it, Tanya? It impressed you.
It did. It confused me a bit thinking about a bypass because I'm in the medical industry and you think about a heart bypass and what that does. So I think I got the understanding, Bridget, that we cannot use gratitude and not acknowledge the grief. That was my understanding because we'll go through grief and sometimes we might want to put it aside or practice.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes what people do is something happen and they move immediately to gratitude. Let's say your house burned down. That's just an example. And some people said, oh, okay, I'm grateful that I'm still alive. I'm grateful I still have a job. I'm grateful. And with all those grateful, they push away their grief as far as they possibly could. And we discussed in this chapter and the previous chapter, we don't want to do that. So what you want to do is to say, okay, my house burned down. Of course, I'm going to be sad. Or my loved one passed away. Of course, I'm going to be sad and upset and have unsettling feelings, which is the other name of grief. And at the same time, I am grateful I'm still alive. I'm grateful I still have work and insurance to rebuild my house. So you acknowledging the grief, you facing the grief, but you are not being drowned by the grief because you are also at the same time being grateful.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Nasrata, gratitude. Do you think there are the cultural difference? I am here in Spain, Tanya in US, and you in India. Do you think it's a different approach? Have you feel that it was something different?
It is absolutely on the similar lines, Mar. And in fact, yesterday I was touched by this line of gratitude and just accepting the loss that we have already had. But yes, as Vajit has just mentioned, and we have seen in the present times as well, where people were losing lives, people were losing their relatives, their all close ones, but still they were thankful for all the small little things which they were having. So absolutely on the similar lines, there's no difference about the gratification of looking at things which we are blessed with and letting it go. What has already passed, just letting it go is something which I could understand by this statement which you just said. And I was really touched by the hung by the strings of two G's, which is guilt and grief.
Mhm.
I really like these two things of guilt and grief, that not to keep these two things with yourself and just keep moving on along with the loss that has happened. So I'll take a pause and allow Bajit to say further on that.
Yeah, exactly. A lot. Guilt is one of the most common reasons to have this, that to make us grieve. And because the guilt is just, I see guilt almost like a worm eating you from inside out, which is not the prettiest picture and not the prettiest way to be feeling. And guilt is, many times it is because people feel guilty about something, and then they feel guilty about feeling guilty. And the whole thing is
Right.
mess, right?
Yeah.
And so and at the same times we want to realize that it's okay to feel guilty. First of all, it is okay to feel guilty. Then the reasons you feel guilty, the first place and the second place, is because you want to be the very best that you are. Otherwise, you will have no remorse and just realize that you actually did try the best you could. Even back then, even if looking back, it's always easy to look back and say, oh, I could have done differently. But back then, most of the time, things are not within your control. And even if it was, then you did the very best you could. And so then we can give ourselves a nice big hug and say, we tried the best we could.
I was so glad you covered that, because what stood out, Brigitte, was you stating that it's our expectations, our own expectations of what we should have done or how we should have behaved. And we have to let go of that. That was so very eye opening for me on the whole guilt platform and the thought of guilt. And recently experiencing some deaths in the family and having a caregiver role, and caregivers experience that a lot, especially professionally, or in your own family if you have to be a caregiver, and you always think, oh, I could have done something different, or maybe if I had done that, things would not be this end result. I would not have lost my loved one. And so learning that we have to let go of that, the guilt, and that it's basically self-imposed. I really
But when I
appreciated
read,
that.
thank you, Dania. When I read that, the first thing that came to my mind was to feel compassion for ourselves,
Yeah.
in that
Wow.
difficult moments, because we are all saying that we have to boost compassion in
Yes.
others and help others to feel compassion, to empathize with others. But we never say compassion with ourselves, because
Yes.
it's like taking us as weakness, isn't it?
Mhm.
Bridget, what is the difference? And then I go with Nan Rosita. Bridget, what is the difference of being weak and accept the grief? No, it's
Big-
to be strong, isn't it? To really accept the grief and be relaxed about it.
Well, being weak, this is something that's funny. Not wanting to accepting something is actually more of a sign of weakness. So being relaxed to yourself, being accepting yourself is not a sign of weakness. Sometimes it is easier to be in denial of something, and so that actually is a way of if you want to say weakness, to run away from something is sometimes easier than accepting something, then facing it and say, okay, I did this, and therefore I'm going to embrace myself and say, I wish I have done something differently, but I did the best I could, and so now I am standing here facing it and embracing it, and that takes a lot of strength. Take a lot of strength.
Natrata, have you feel guilty? Have you feel weak? Have you addressed that grief when it came to your life?
Yeah, very, very apt question. Definitely, we do feel grief, and as I always say, and as I've understood in the book also, it's like bygones are bygones. Instead of
Right.
self-blaming, or instead of having all those kind of tumor roots within our own selves and cultivating them again and again, it's just start with a new beginning. I have always done whenever there is any kind of grief, of accepting it and moving ahead by have an understanding of that. Okay, one who has passed, it's not that that person has been forgotten, but then the person is loved when I'm moving ahead and loving other people. So that's what I have accepted grief, and that's what I had a understanding after reading this beautiful book piece as well.
Mhm. Seems to be a true exercise of strength, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tanya, you say yes, Tanya,
Yeah.
with conviction. It's your personal experience on there. I can see
Yes, yes,
it.
definitely, definitely. Accepting it and being strong in it. And I had the same conversation this morning, questioning my thoughts and my feelings. And that was another point in the book, Bridget. The feelings. Feelings are not wrong or right.
Yes.
Feelings are feelings.
Mhm.
And we have to separate the conversation of the language of saying, I thought this, and look at your situation and your thought processes. And was it the thinking or are you feeling? So I really like the exercise of replacing the word I thought with I feel. And if that in a sentence results the same, then you know that it's a feeling and not a thought. And because, like you say in the book, Bridget, we can get all muddled in our minds and just keep traveling the same road
Mhm.
of that grief and that pain and not get off.
Yeah, that's why the third chapter is called Muddle in the Middle, because if you continue mixing your thoughts and your feelings and all these things that happened in the past and in the now and in the future, then you basically trap in in the middle of a maze of this whole thing. And many people, I like you said, we are not, and the book share how to do this, and we're not even aware what is feeling and what is our thought. And our thoughts tend to run about 100 million miles a minute,
Mhm.
and and so many times influenced by everything out there. And so you think you're feeling something when you're thinking something, and then you go into this rabbit hole of even more confusions, which we don't want you to do that. Seeking peace is for you to feel more at ease and confidence as you travel through changes and challenges, and so that's what we want.
Brigitte, in general, we don't try to use a method. We try just to keep busy, and let pass the time. And you say very clearly here, you stated here, passing time and staying busy do not
Doesn't.
heal. Do not heal. What do you think, Namrata? Do not heal. What is your experience? What do you think about that?
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
could be against Bridget. Don't worry to say no. I disagree. Nasrata.
Okay, yeah, absolutely right. You what you have said and what's mentioned in the book, that passing time and staying busy does not heal. You have to. I have always accepted what damage has happened, be it a loss of life, or be it any damage to any other relationship. So the acceptance. the grief which was already there, to undergo that phase of grief, and to sometimes, have that kind of laziness also in the entire day, that okay, if I do not have that kind of strength to do anything, then also I have just accepted that okay, if I'm taking that much of time, then also it's okay. But yes, having that kind of conscious efforts done, instead of putting myself into that guilt and putting myself into all that kind of trauma, and instead of increasing the stress, increasing the length of that grief, I have always just, stepped into a shoes, stepped into my running shoes, or stepped into my walking joggers, and just moved out and just been close to nature, and just been close to that person whom I have lost. So that's what I have, that's how I have dealt with the in these kind of situations. Because yes, what is written is very correctly, that passing time does not heal. And when we are close to nature, when we are close to all the natural surroundings, then we allow ourselves to get healed with all the natural healings which are there in the surroundings. So that's what I have followed, and that's what I got the understanding.
Tanya,
That
you
is
said
beautiful.
the
That is
past the
beautiful.
time.
Oh, sorry. That is, I love that shares, Namrata. Thank you. I do want to point something that you said, which actually definitely one way to see that. But that you mentioned to not sometimes have the laziness of not wanting to face things, and I would say, coming from my heart, I don't know if it is laziness. It is sometimes it's simply people not knowing that they need to be different. But also, and it's kind of like I don't know if it is laziness, and at the same time, I agree with you. It actually take more effort and more discipline in a way to be able to face what it is and say, okay, you know what? I know I'm grieving and it's not resolving, and I'm to take the actions. And okay, yes, I do read the book and I'm still grieving. Then connect with me, connect with a grief coach that will be able to help you. Because like with us, within a matter, it doesn't matter if you've been grieving for 40 years, in a matter of 7 to 8 weeks, I help you resolve it completely. And so it does, it's not necessarily laziness. I think it's more lack of awareness. And at the
Yeah,
same time, yes, you do want to take action, and it takes some actions from
yeah,
each and every one of you.
true.
Tanya, during this time that you have been grieving,
Yes.
do you keep busy? You let the time go? What were
Uh,
your resources? More than reading the book of Brigitte. So beyond that.
it's been very helpful because I found that I do default to getting busy and doing more to try to get away from it. And then I have the thoughts about following the steps and looking back on what I did and could I have done things differently. So your book was so very helpful, Brigitte, because the word picture that you wrote about is just like having a broken leg and something unexpected. Your leg was broken because you were in an earthquake or whatever. And then instead of getting the proper treatment, you continue to walk on it and all that. So it never heals properly. And to associate that with grief and realize that you really do need a process to help you to get through it properly, because we're not trained or taught about how to deal with grief. We don't learn about that in school. We don't learn about that in college. And a lot of times we don't live with a medical professional who can help us at home to go through those different pieces in that process of handling the grief. So yes, I really, really connected with that in your book, Bridget, because the busy does not heal and time does not heal.
No.
You really have to go through the process, look at it, accept it, and honor it. As you said, honor the grief.
And you honor as well with forgivenesses. Forgivenesses has nothing to do with agreeing or approving It is to let go of the memories that continue to ruin our current life.
Yes.
Mm.
I have just read this, and how important is that? What do you think, Namrata? Do you
Yeah.
agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. What is written about the forgiveness is, as I said, that forgiving is very important because if you do not forgive, it keeps getting rooted and it keeps
Mm.
getting converted into tumor, as written in the book. And I could really relate to it because. Seen so much things when this pandemic was there and other related kind of things when forgiveness to the situation
Mm.
sometimes, forgiveness to your own self, that okay, they could not provide, they were not there during the last times, they could not perform certain, rights which were required to do. Even in small little things the forgiveness is required, otherwise it's very difficult to live life in a lovable way and to have peace and harmony with your own self. So
Yeah.
yes, forgiveness is definitely, I do agree. And again, as we have already discussed, that all this guilt, shame, self blame, it needs forgiveness to get out of all these kind of tumorous emotions and feelings.
Yeah,
I like to see, sorry, I like to see that idea, metaphorical idea of a tumor as a grief, isn't it, Brigitte? It's fantastic, isn't it?
yeah, I it's definitely, and I love what you say is that, and the forgiveness is, a lot of people confuse forgiveness with I have to agree with something and therefore make it so practically impossible. How could you agree with somebody who murdered somebody, for instance? But forgiveness really is simply, as the book says, letting go of your memory. And one thing I want to mention in here is, people think forgiveness is a feeling.
Mm.
Forgiveness is an action.
Yes.
You choose to take that action to forgive. It
Mm.
will give you a feeling of peace and so forth. But for people say, "Oh, I don't feel forgiving." It's an action. It's not a feeling. You take that action to forgive others or to forgive yourself, that result in you feeling more peace and more ease. But forgiveness is an action, and
Yes.
for any action, you choose to take that action. So
You-
You all see that the book of Brigitte and the method of Brigitte is very effective, but you have to be very courage. You have to be very strong because from the
Yes.
first finger you have to acknowledge the grief. So you cannot avoid the fact. Then you have to identify which type of grief. That's what's a chameleon fingerprint.
Yes.
And now you have to deal with what means forgive and what means work on grief. Tanya, do you think that idea that means work on that process? We have to work on that, or came just naturally?
No, it definitely takes work. It takes work. And you might have to get pencil and paper or pen and paper to write down what you are doing. Writing down, accepting and honoring what has happened. Writing down what you're feeling. Take an inventory of your thoughts. Are there thoughts that you're hung up on, or is it the feeling and the forgiveness? Like Richard said, it's an action, just like love is an action,
yeah.
and being happy. You decide to be happy. Um, Forgiveness, take that action, and it does not matter how long it takes you to get to that point. It really is work, and you can get through it if you do the work.
Nasrata, do you agree with that, with the idea of taking the decision of overcome grief? It's very
Absolutely.
similar. Yeah.
Absolutely, I totally agree, and I was really moved by one more aspect of this book, that it's your heart which is broken.
Mm,
It's not you who are broken.
yes.
So when the forgiveness aspect is going on in life, we just feel that we are shattered, we are just finished, life is over, and I am just dead. I'm just no more. How am I going to? So it's just one part of the body which is shattered, and the entire all other things are entire all other senses, everything is like working. So it is all related, and it's all linked. And I'll take a pause, and I'll just request Burji to dwell a little more on this. Heart is only broken, and not the entire your own self.
Yeah, exactly. It is something that the same analogy as that we use for this as well. If you have a broken leg, you say, I have a broken leg. But because you cannot see, and this is the emotional heart, and yes, the emotional heart affected everything in you and the way you do, but so is your leg, actually, if you think about it. I mean, if you have broken leg and cannot walk, it really affected everything in you as well. And so many times, because we do not have the awareness, we don't realize that it's when it's our emotional heart that it is a part of you is broken, but as a whole you are still beautiful and you are courageous and you are your unique self. It's just your heart is broken, and like a broken leg, your broken heart can also be healed, particularly if you receive the right help, such as with this book. And it's like with broken leg, same thing with broken heart. Sometimes you need, if you got a cut on your leg, it might heal on its own. But if truly a broken leg, you need professional, you need doctors. In this case, if you find that doing the work is, as Mar say, needing courage, and you don't have that, needing clarity and discipline, actually, and you don't have that, then that's when you can connect with me, you can connect with other grief specialists, but you connect with me. I help people internationally online using the Zoom and so forth. So doesn't matter where you are, if you want support, I'm here for you.
We are right to the last minute of this wonderful and enriched session. So please, Nafrata, your conclusion in 1 minute.
Okay, my conclusion in 1 minute is that yeah, grief when happens, accept it, and be courageous to accept it, and be ready to get healed. Accept that healing is required, and be forgiving to your own self. Forget about others. Just be forgiveful to your own self, and have that peace and harmony in your own body for your own self, and just live your life with all the love and happiness around the world.
Thank you. Tanya, be courage and tell us your conclusion.
Yes. Oh, the conclusion for today, definitely forgive yourself. Set aside the expectations that you had and what you feel like you did not do or could have done. Live in the present, accept what has occurred, be the loss of a loved one or the loss of a job or the loss of a dream. Look at it, accept it, forgive yourself. Allow yourself to go through that process of healing. And if you need extra help, by all means, reach out and get the help. You can contact Brigitte or someone locally.
And if you need help, what do? You read your own book? What do you
No, when I need help, well, gratefully, I have gone through about 8 years of intensive training and more, actually, I think 12 years. But when I need help, I do read my own book. Something happened a few weeks ago, and I pick up the book and I just intuitively open it to a place that it's guide me. I actually have mentors. I have many mentors, and that's the thing. You cannot do everything on your own. If you need to lift a heavy rock or something, if you feel like a rock has fallen on you and you need to lift that and get out of that, you will need help to get out of that underneath the heavy rock. And
Yeah.
that's what coaches mentor. I actually at this moment has 6 different coaches to be helping me in different aspect, because
Okay.
there is no Olympic athlete that become an Olympian by themselves. We know that for sure. And so for you, you are a beautiful person, and sometimes we just need a little help.
To accept that we need help, isn't it, Brigitte? To be humble, to accept that we need help, and to remember that you are not broken. You have
Yeah.
just a broken heart.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies, for being here.
Thank
And
you.
please be with us for next month with the four-finger method. That is, Brigitte, tell us a summary and we go.
The 4th finger for next month is something called forward fortitude. And what it is, you're going to find out next month.
Yes. Bye, ladies. Good morning. Good night for
Bye.
all of you. Bye.
Bye. Good night. Bye, Namrata.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Prashid.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Mar.